Hi, everybody. So we're going to get started with our second group critique for task two, which is where we're really getting an opportunity to practice one-point perspective in terms of taking what we've learned in the previous assignment with the shape exercises and just seeing how we can turn that knowledge into, take basic shapes and, turn them into furniture, which I think is probably the most important thing I would say about this particular assignment is just how you're taking and, you know, oops, sorry, my Mac likes to do interesting things. So, kind of taking it, a cube can become a nightstand, some simple rectangles can become a bed, and so forth. A rectangle becomes a rug. That's really, I think, if you think of, I would say one of the best tips I can give you for this entire class is to always think on that level of how simple, very simple shapes can suddenly become, objects, like realistic objects in your drawing just by either the where you place them or, how you put them together. Maybe you have two rectangles that make a chair or a sofa. And, that's again a really key thing to really understand in this class is you don't necessarily need to be able to draw that well. I don't consider myself a really great realistic drawer, but if you have a ruler and perspective, you can build anything. It's like Lego, like the Lego, the toy where you can kind of put those little pieces together. That's really what perspective is like. So I'd really also encourage you also, let me just grab I'm just going to grab a drawing here so we can look a little bit more closely. To focus on rectangular objects, okay, here's a good one. Just keep like if you work with rectangles as much as possible in this class, then you can use your straight edge. It's easy to build. There's only at one point in the class where we start to work with circles that you really need to work with the idea of a curve. Everything else you can make it really like just rectangles, cubes, make things very, very geometric so that you can just build. If you're further along in the perspective process, you've studied it before and you feel comfortable with curves, feel free to do that. But otherwise, really, this class works really well just with that straight edge. Um, and, you can, and then again, we'll learn how to work with the circle and the ellipse in a really kind of structured way later on, a few weeks ahead. Um, and that's really the only time you have to work with curves. You'll notice some of the assignment examples may have curves. And again, that's that's fine if you want to add them, if you feel confident with them, but don't feel like you have to. Um, it's all about really, I think, building a really solid foundation for yourself in perspective and feeling confident. And I think you can do that with just with straight edges. Well, the other thing I wanted to mention two things. This is one out of two assignments that we're going to use a printout for. And, as I noticed some folks, I just sort of skimmed through what people were posting about the assignment. And yes, it is hard to work on a printout because the paper's thinner. It's just not as good as our drawing paper. So if you feel a little frustrated, I understand. Just kind of try to get through this assignment in terms of drawing on the paper. And also, the lines for the grid are a little dark. It's hard to see your lines on there. So I understand that too. So again, it's not an ideal situation. Um, Finally, before we head into our discussion of the individual assignments, is that this is the only time that we're actually going to be looking at this idea of elevation and plan view. But it's and then kind of putting them all together into a, a, a three different views of the same space. And so we're really doing that just in order to actually see the dimensionality of what we're doing in perspective, how floor plans and elevations, how they all come together. But this is something we're not going to be doing any more of in this class. It's really just kind of like to show you that. Uh, if you're taking some other type of architectural drawing class, you may spend, really a lot of time with the elevation and plan view. But we're just kind of using it to kind of like uh, get acquainted with this idea. And I would say that the most important thing that we're doing in this assignment with regard to that is the idea of footprinting things, like creating a footprint, like where you would start by putting the footprint of the sofa onto the floor. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the assignment. That's such a key concept. You'll find it so useful is if you start drawing on the floor first and then bring everything up. You know what I mean by like starting, here's your vanishing point. So you start by building this floor here, and then you bring up the corners, in this case, the corners of the sofa, and then you join them. It's much easier. I always do that, even though I've been drawing perspective for a while, because I just find it so much easier. And plus, then it'll all work out in your drawing because you're working on the floor to begin with, and so you won't have any problems with overlapping shapes and things like that. Which don't worry about that right now, but it's a good method. Okay, let's get started. Amy, all right. So yes, you have a window. It looks like you've got some cabinets here, and I think you mentioned in your discussion that you were working on a bed. Okay, so I think this is working out really well, and your window looks great. Um, so let's take a look here. So this is the plan view. So what's happening? So it's a little confusing, but if you think of in terms of okay, so in this perspective view, can you see you've got four squares on the floor going backwards and then five this way. Keeping that in mind that there's 4 and 5 will be helpful in how you figure out what to put in these plan and elevation views. So for the plan view, what you would want to do here, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this here, these squares here, go along with these squares here. Does that make sense? So we're looking at the front in both cases. So you'd want to have your elements here. Oh, so okay, it looks like you've got that. Yeah, so now I'm seeing this. Oh, I see the bed is right in there. I see. So there's bookshelves or kind of nightstands. Here are your nightstands and here's your bed. Okay, that looks good. Yeah. Okay, good. Um, and let's see. And then so then looking this way. Okay, good. Yeah, now it's all making sense to me. Even I have to kind of, work at this to make it all align. So let's see what's happening with your bed. So you have your bed coming up sort of 1.5 squares up the wall. Okay, yeah, that looks good. So you've got it here coming down, going across. Yeah, yeah, it all looks right. One of the things that's confusing sometimes is, as you said, the lines, or I don't know if you said it, I think you did too, but the lines are a little dark, so it makes it hard for them to stand out. It'd almost be better to have colored pencils with this, but such as it is. But it also is because in this part right here, your vanishing point and this edge are very close in terms of angles. And so you did a good job here at making them look like and bringing this out, accurately doing that. So everything looks good to me. I would say that, you could, if you wanted to add one more element here, like even something simple like putting a rug down here, just kind of to fill this space wherever you wanted to put it, just to activate that part of the floor. You can put it there, and then, pop it pop it onto you don't only have to do the floor plan in this case. Um, and yeah, I would say that would probably be the only thing you really need to do here, if you wanted to. I think everything else is looking really good, and you have a good understanding of how it all goes together. Angela. Okay, yeah, I think look at that. That looks great. You've done a very nice job here at your putting all of your objects in to, let me get my line tool a little bit more adjusted here. Yeah, really nice job here at having all of your elements vanishing to that one point. You've got some really wonderful details in here. I like how you really kind of filled the space with windows and a nightstand and this really interesting object here. So that looks great. And let's see, on your floor plan, yeah, that looks great. So here, here, and here. Good, yeah. And then looking this way, going to look at this wall right here to see the elevation. That looks great too. Yeah, everything looks really, really nicely done. So I would just say here, the only thing that when I looked at it, I thought, what's happening here? It looks like it's sort of kind of a more organic rug. I would just maybe darken those edges just a tiny bit more to make them as dark as your objects, here as well. Um, that's, I think the main thing here is just to uh, make it look like it's really really existing in that space, and it isn't just part of the draft. Okay, but that's it. I think everything else looks really good here, and you've done a nice job with the composition and the design overall. I like what you said about practicing your perspective with the shapes, because I just think that that's really the key here when you're learning perspective is, whenever you have a moment, maybe you're just kind of hanging out, waiting for something, or you have some spare time, even when you're watching TV, just get out even a scrap piece of paper and any kind of drawing implement you have, whatever's handy, and just practice drawing the shapes. That's what I did all the time when I was in school. I would just kind of, in my notebook when I was a little bored during a lecture, I would just, practice the different forms of perspective. I didn't even have a straight edge. I would just freehand it until I just felt so comfortable about, making a shape and then vanishing it. I could just really just start, effortlessly doing that. And ultimately, whatever uh, your field of study is. Like some of you may be doing a lot more perspective if you're interior design, for example, but some of you may not, depending upon what you're studying. It all depends. But a basic idea of how perspective works, whatever you're doing, even if you're just drawing a quick sketch for someone, if you know how to freehand, even just freehand some perspective, it really is very useful. So that's a really good goal. Okay, so um, I'm going to start here with your uh, perspective here. So, oh, the rug looks good, and this is looking good here, this element here. So it looks like it's going all the way on the floor. And then for the chair here, so sometimes this is, I think, a common thing that happens to a lot of folks, is when you get close to the back wall, you have a tendency to flatten things. So do what I mentioned before about the idea of footprinting. So let's start by, let me just get a little bit of a bigger line here. And let's start by footprinting this chair. And let's say we're going to make the chair a cube. We're going to turn it into a cube because that's so much easier. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just use this square here, and I'm actually just kind of drawing over the square but vanishing it at the same time. Um, so pull it into the floor plan first, like you've done with these other elements. That's the best way to start. Then, rather than making something organic or freeform, which again, like I mentioned in my introduction, can be so difficult. Just let's make it just one cube tall and one cube in all directions. So let's now just make a little, draw it up the back wall, and now we'll go and take our vanishing points and go over here. Now we don't actually have to do this one because it's already been done with the other one. So, and now let's just pull it up. So I'm just pulling up. There we go. And then we'll go across here. My lines are a little wonky because I'm drawing a Photoshop, which is, so this line doesn't quite go across there, but you can do a better job than I do. So now using the footprint, you're able to um, get it pulled into the space. So that's what I would do there. You could even pull it, you can make it a bench if you wanted to, whatever you want to do with that. Um, and for this window, oh, it looks, I see. So I'm going to actually undo this here. So it looks like what you're wanting to do is make some depth in your window. Why not? So yeah, so you would use the vanishing point to do that. If you don't want to do that at this point, it's fine if you just want to make your window, um, you know, flat on the wall. Do you know what I mean? But if you want to make it have some depth, then you'd want to use the vanishing point here, which you've got the angle here, but also at the bottom. So a little bit straighter. You have to be really accurate. So use your ruler when you do this. Really, get in a really sharp pencil and kind of really make those lines really crisp. You're almost there, but I mean, you have the idea, which is so important. But again, it's not necessarily at this point if you want, if you don't want to do that. Um, okay, so let's take a, so, if you want to, you could maybe add, fix this, maybe add another element. You've got a little space here. Maybe you could add another little stool or something like that. Looking at your floor plan, so it looks like, so what you want to do here with your floor plan is you want to, this right here, this area in here is the same as this here. That's what we're looking at. This is the front. Okay, so you would actually start by taking a look at, so the rug, would be somewhere in here. Let's see, I'm just going to count. So it's a little bit there. So somewhere here, I think, and then back all the way to the wall. So this is where your rug would be. Okay, just takes a little bit of practice to kind of eyeball where these are. So this would be the rug. So it's really, so if you imagine looking down, you're actually looking down in the same way, looking down here, looking down here. So what I'd actually recommend doing is just printing this off again and starting, because erasing on this paper, it's always hard to erase, but it's even harder on this paper. And then looking at this, so what you're doing here is you're looking at this wall right here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 across. So you want to look across, and so your sofa, it looks to me like your sofa is going to be the thing here that you're going to see. So I think you've got your sofa happening. It looks to me that the sofa is filling the entire wall. So you'd start, this is your bottom of your sofa right here. Kind of looks like maybe what you did is oh, I don't know. Anyhow, so, and then looks like your sofa's coming up this way here, up the back wall. So it's kind of like creating this thing, this um, shape, something like that. Okay, so that's what I'd recommend. You'd also, for everybody, think about maybe you could put a little bit of artwork, like just rectangles on the wall or some more windows, just kind of fill your space a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I'd keep working on this. Print another sheet. Take some of my earlier tips too about just working with rectangles and footprinting, and I think you'll be in great shape. Hey, Michelle. All right. Well, I've looked at your drawing a little bit before I started talking about it, and it looks to me like everything looks really coordinated. Nice job. You've got some complex elements, but you've got everything, um, you know, uh, mapped out very nicely between the elevation, the plan, and the 1-point perspective. You've got really nice composition, a lot of detail. You're really working really nicely with your vanishing point here with these shelving units. Those are always hard, especially as you get to all the different shelves to try to make them converge correctly. And I think you did a very nice job with that. So it looks good. And the only thing I would say, just something you could work on, is just tidying up the line work. Sometimes I think what happens, I don't know if this happens with everybody, but I think for me anyhow, when I start working on a composition, kind of mapping it out and designing it, I'm always kind of like more sketching it and kind of just trying to get everything working. And then once that's done, then it's like I can come back and really kind of clean up the lines. So in a way, that's probably what I would do here, is just work on, getting your ruler in, really cleaning these up. I would just print, if it were me, I'd print this off again and just take exactly your composition and just draw it out again. That's a really something we tend to do a lot of in perspective, is to um, uh, clean up drawings that way. So you might want to just do that. I think that's all you really need to do here to make it work. Um, and the only other thing too is the bottom of this chair. This is such a difficult element to work with in perspective. I'd, be inclined to just do some legs of, if you want to, like just 4 legs here, and skip the sort of circular elements. Um, just to make it a little easier on yourself, make it look a little more professional. And yeah, that's it. Nice job. Okay, everybody. So we finished our 2 group critiques for this week, and you can use this feedback now to revise. You have until Sunday in the end of the day to submit to the final submission area, let's actually go there right now and take a look at the assignment um, so that we just go over the requirements. The main requirement, as I head over there, is to just revise your drawings based on feedback. Um, and here we are. So here's the final submission area. And just remember that this is where you want to see the instructions. Remember my previous note that the instructions within the post here area doesn't work right now. So always head from the learning path. So here are the instructions. You can see um, that it's asking you to make revisions. You can just use my feedback directly. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And then you want to write a brief report. Okay, there's 4 questions here. And this is really important that there's a part of the grading that is based on this. So just, you can copy these in and just answer them, you know. And let's see. Um, so here is the grading rubric. So you can see the milestone report. It's not worth a lot of points. It's only 10 points. So, it's not like it's going to make or break your grade or anything like that, but it is an extra 10 points, so you might as well do it. So you're going to just go in here and submit it through here. Okay? All right, so again, great work, everybody, and I look forward to seeing your final submissions.